Before I start, it's been an honor to stand before my home turf, and it's been a great honor to see all these beautiful faces in my campus, done by the newest of our thanks a lot for helping our newest sponsor in this particular adventure. With that, let's see how we're going to take this. Right. So, okay, the entire government's idea was that, okay, we need to accurately, quoting Zubair, we need to accurately tell how many people were died, how many people were killed, how many women were raped. Okay, guys, look at the motion. It's overemphasizing on the wrongdoing. So it's not necessarily on the level playing field how you are objectively telling how many people died or how many people got killed. It's basically when you're overemphasizing the narrative that your heroes did something wrong. Right now, you need to take that guilt trip back to your home as a child. Go talk to your parents why you should not rebuild your country with that self-determination and absolute approach to shape up your community with that binding value as a nationalistic identity. But take that guilt trip, going to Nawed and ask him, okay, I did it wrong. How do I, apologize right now to you? How do you accept me in my country right now? How do you accept and come to my own workforce and work with me unless I apologize? You are not going to be there. That's a fundamental fallacy the government bench never clarified from our side. So let's understand. It's the journey of a baby nation that Ankit brilliantly points out and conveniently being shied away. It's never about the grievances of the Rajakars. Now if you're opening up that Pandora box, what is going to happen? Every Rajakar's kid is now going to come and tell us that, you know what, you killed my father and not necessarily give him a janaja at the very least. Right now, that's why I'm going to hate you to the core of my nation. That's exactly what Sheikh Mujib did in 1974. Over not trying them in the war tribunal because he understood this is the reason we should not go and factioning this in this very state because we're in a very vulnerable state. We have to characterize and recalibrate our own idea about shaping up this community, not necessarily going into blaming and slinging mud each and every other front. That's going to create a whole lot of havoc because in that very vulnerable state, you have only few and very bare minimum resources to work with. The bare minimum aid that you're going to get from the foreign community, and you have to utilize those in your infrastructure. All hands on the deck. Every human being in that nation, even the children, kids, everybody needs to actually be in the same one approach. We're going to build Bangladesh. The only identity I'm going to be happy with is my Bengali identity. Nothing else, no one else, and no other way it should be muddled or it should be scratched in any given way. That is the fundamental thing Akib told you about and said that, okay, if you have to make this reconciliation in 2010 or 2020, we will do that. But not in that particular vulnerable state where you have nothing but only your raw passion and the determination to build up this nation from the scratch again in a very conflicting society. That's what you need to understand. Secondly, what we told you, the recurrence of violence and recurrence of this kind of actions getting in this war again and again when you open that Pandora box. Because you go on grieving again and again. You have to have the multifaceted fronts. Because you know what? There are alternatives there. There is ICC, there is ICJ. International War Crime Tribunals are already doing a fantastic job of telling you how you are dealing with the war criminals in the Nuremberg trial. We have done it. We have actually saw it in the history. South Sudan's guys are being tried right now. That's exactly the way Robert Mugabe was also being sanctioned because of his wrongdoing. But Zimbabwe nation does not need to necessarily go on the guilt trip saying that everything the white farmers did in the name of exploitation in the apartheid era, I now need to actually learn that everything that my heroes were not there. But the only way I actually won over that particular biggest nation is necessarily a guilt trip that I have to go by. That's a false fallacy. Let's understand the second level. How does it split and fracture the rebuilding process when resources get allocated towards the political narrative and mudslinging? Because you have only few infrastructure to get away with. You have to take away someone's land, let's say. You have to take away those kind of properties. And you have to actually make those inroads for your country which has been bombed by the Pakistani people or in the Chechnya, the Bosnian and the other kinds of in Tutsi or Rwanda's genocide that has been happening. When you're coming up with all this, how are you supposed to build this? Because now if every time he comes up and tells me that, okay, I am not going to take this unless my own grievances is being reconciled with. My own father's life needs to be reconciled with. You give me that right, otherwise I'm not going to work with you. That is the kind of front I cannot waste my resources in so that it's going to give me the kind of benefit that I'm supposed to get as a state leader. That is a fundamental fallacy in a post-conflict society. At the most vulnerable stage, you don't have a determined approach. That's the only way. The nationalistic factor, which Upper House told you about, but never analyzed why this the determined process is so important and how do you have that journey. Determination doesn't come on one day. It is a constant pushing over and over again and reiteration of it in every possible front. Not only in curricula. We have to get those martyrs, the 7 beats ratios that we have in curricula, and in every other way, like in the media, like in paper, like in books, literatures, arts, movies, everywhere. The moment you give that Pandora box, it's going to create every sort of conflict with other fronts. Now you're going to go back questioning as a child that did I do the right thing by supporting my Bengali identity or I was wrong? What do I stand? This is the kind of faction we cannot afford to have in a post-conflict society. Closing.
If your inspiration rocks countries into authoritarian spirals and your nation state has gaps, is your inspiration worth it?
No, it's the other way around. You see, Bangladesh has actually got that particular generation after 71 who have given up everything. Our people did not go to study abroad and actually stayed back when they have to help the nation out. That's in exactly the same way every other communities are trying to rebuild from the scratch. LTTE being the only emerging community in Sri Lanka. You see, they have been in the very faction from the very beginning of their inception. They have their own air force. The same time, if we are going to mudslinging each other in the Sri Lankan citizens versus the Tamil citizens, you're going to see each and every time there is a recurrence of violence. Never going to be a peace treaty, which you have achieved right 10 years back. So these are the reasons. You see, now Tamil players like Murthiya Muralidhar playing in Sri Lankan national team, and he said that, you know what, before anything else, I'm not a Tamil, I'm a Sri Lankan national cricket team player, which I'm proud of. These are the ways you recalibrate your identity and you bind that very factor. Are there any other ways? Those alternatives are never going to give you that sort of reconciliation. Because even if Murthiya Muralidhar is okay, his family is going to tell you that, you know what, we are being oppressed, we have been agitated, let's deal with that apology first, then we will go there. So that's the road of backsliding to, again, the recurring of violences, and the weaponry and everything is so very vulnerable in that moment. You cannot deal with that. Your resources need to be absolutely mainstream in one singular channel and one singular way. War is not easy to sit in this echo chamber and understand. Everybody who were there right after 1971, they know it better. That's why they did it. We're still standing in front of university. Very proud to oppose.
Amazing because this is exactly what we call very classical.